They say that ignorance is bliss. A lot of people would assert, therefore, that I should be a hell of a lot more cheerful.
身為呢間酒店嘅一份子，必須嚴格遵守我嘅規矩。
Hi, welcome to the Silver Spleen. My name is Barcelona Marriott, and this is my review of Hotel Soul Good. They say that ignorance is bliss. I usually try to watch movies without knowing too much about them beforehand. Some commenters would assert that I still know nothing after seeing them, but we can't all be Chinese, can we? Never mind that. I think it's somehow more fair to movies to try and minimize my expectations. A lot of time it's also more fair to me, or maybe it just helps me manage my expectations. So as I describe my reactions to Hotel Soul Good, keep in mind that I reacted that way only because at the time I watched it, I didn't know who made the film. But first, how about a little context? There aren't many ghost movies made in Hong Kong anymore, and the few that we do get tend to be released in late summer, which is also when the Hungry Ghost Festival happens. See, there's a reason it was called Hungry Ghost Ritual. But then there's also the Double Ninth Festival, which usually happens in the fall. Traditionally, people clean their ancestors' graves and make offerings. It's the same thing they do in the spring for the Qingming Festival, though there are a lot fewer hill fires started by unsafe burning of offerings, in the fall. Hotel Soul Good was released the day after the Double Ninth Festival, and that makes a lot of sense. The movie tells the story of a tough executive, played with impressive veracity by Chrissy Chow, who loses her job, her boyfriend, and nearly her life. After what might be described as an eye-opening near-death experience, she undertakes a philanthropic endeavor with some new friends. Now, I know that's really kind of vague, but that's because I want you to watch this movie yourself. I was really surprised by how much better this movie was than I was expecting. All I knew about it was that it was a ghost comedy starring Chrissy Chow and Louis Chung. You get that from the poster. But those are two actors that I really enjoy watching, and, I enjoy ghost movies, so of course I went to see it. Now, what I didn't know at the time was that it was directed by Yan Pak Wing, who also directed Vampire Cleanup Department. Now, if I had known that, my expectations would have been higher, but they still would have been exceeded. Yan gets some really great performances from his cast, both separately and especially together. Chrissy Chow continues to be extraordinarily believable, affecting, and engaging. She's a big part of why Hotel Soul Good is much better than it ought to be. Now, I'm sure some of you are tired of hearing me say it, but she's become a really good actor. I don't smile much, if at all. And if I'm asked to smile on cue, it's awful. So if Chrissy Chow can do this and be as convincing as she is doing it, that's impressive to me. But the rest of the cast is right there with her. When we meet Louis Chung's character, his interaction with a little kid is as real as it is priceless. I was actually laughing out loud in the cinema. Hotel Soul Good seems like the kind of movie that was hopefully as much fun to make as it is to watch. My favorite scenes in the movie occur when all of the main cast are together in the same room. Eric Kotman-Fai, Maggie Hsu, and Richard Ng are all entertaining enough by themselves, but when all five of these people are together in a scene, they're just effortlessly funny. So too are some of the people who show up just for cameos or small roles, like Law Lan, Michelle Lo, Koi Mak, Vincent Wan, Mimi Kung, and Su Yum Yum. I have to admit, the immediate opening of the movie, the very first few lines, weren't really funny or enjoyable to me, but everyone else in the cinema enjoyed them. Besides, it was actually nice to get the low point of a movie out of the way that fast. Speaking of low points, I never knew there was an actual company called Larry Jewelry, but I know it now. I also had never heard of Queenie Court Sauna, but I look forward to going there. Let's move on. Actually, let's don't. Because that photo, while not from the movie, is actually still relevant. Hotel Soul Good looks like a bigger movie than it actually is. It's occasionally very cinematic. I'm not sure how to describe it, but cinematographer Cubby Choi, who also did Vampire Cleanup Department and Sinking City Capsule Odyssey, two of my favorite movies from last year, makes Hotel Soul Good look like a much more expensive movie than it probably is. Like I said at the start of the review, I expected a funny but fairly cheap, ghost comedy. But Miss Choi's work elevates the movie. As someone who watches a lot of movies, I was, and am, grateful. A nice-looking, good movie is a rare treat. So, thank you. Speaking of rare treats, there's a very well-shot scene in a hospital where, like I just said, the cinematography really helps drive the scene. But if you watch this movie, see if that one thing with the defibrillator strikes you as kind of like fan service too. Maybe it's just me. That said, I'm sure I'm not the only person who can appreciate the very localness of this film. Now, we all know that ghosts can't be real in China movies, so it was nice to see that at the end of the movie, the ghosts were still ghosts, and not the result of a bit of undigested beef. But Hotel Soul Good also features a few lines of dialogue here and there that talk about the city and how much it's changed and how things aren't the way they used to be. There's also an entire scene that pokes a massive amount of fun at certain aspects of the local government, but it does so in a way that still fits within the movie, both specifically and part of the genre. All in all, my biggest impression leaving the cinema after watching Hotel Soul Good was that I had just seen a movie that was much better than I expected it to be. But like I also said, if I knew who had directed it and who had worked on it, I probably would have had higher expectations, but even then, it would have exceeded them. You know, I got to watch two really good, really local movies in a week, and that probably means that I'm going to get hit by a bus. This movie is a lot of fun as long as you approach it from the idea that it is basically, you know, a ghost comedy. It's not intended to be high art, and thank God for that. But as a ghost comedy, it's really well made. It's well acted. It's a lot of fun to watch. Like I said, you can tell people had fun doing it. It looks really nice, and, you know, it's a very local film. So for me, this was everything I could ask for and more. So if you want to watch this, go see it in the cinema. Good movies always deserve our support, so please go and do that. If you don't have a chance to see it that way, wait until you can rent it or buy it. Don't steal it. Support the movies you claim to love. And as long as we're talking about, you know, spending money, why don't you take a moment and click on my Patreon page? Because I've just started to do some new exclusive content things, and if you don't sign up for it, you don't get to see them. So please, click on the link, give me a little money. If you enjoyed my review, please let me know, and if you didn't, let me know. If you enjoy the channel, please subscribe. Thank you for watching. See you again soon.